Forward. Welcome back to the Contacts Coaching Podcast. We're joined this lovely Saturday morning by Tyler Rogers, calling in from Merced. He is the boys varsity basketball coach at Stone Ridge Christian. Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Justin. You do an amazing job.
I
So thank you.
appreciate that. Thanks, man. Why don't we dive in and see if we can do an amazing job on this one? See if you can carry me to the finish line. Why don't you take us through
Okay.
your background? Let us know how you ended up coaching. What was the process of landing your first job, and then any steps along the way that has led you to where you are now.
Awesome. Yeah, I obviously started my playing career in high school, played at Buhack Colony in Atwater, 3-year varsity starter there, and then moved on to Merced College, played 2 years there. After my playing career, it was like up in the air. Do I try to keep pursuing this? Obviously, I have a family dynamic with the kids and stuff like that. So I really wanted to jump back into basketball because it was always my passion. I just didn't know in what way. And I had an opportunity to coach at Crookshank. It's a middle school in Merced, and they asked me to do the boys and the girls varsity there. And so I took that team, and it was funny because when I first started, it was like I thought I needed all the X's and O's. You know what I'm saying? As a first time coach, you're in there, you're like, all right, I'm gonna run these 7 plays and do 4 different defenses. And I get there and we have about, I don't know, 3 practices before we play our first game, and it's like a month of games. And so you basically throw all that out the window and you realize, okay, I need to do some fundamentals and develop these kids. So did that and then jumped in at El Capitan High School. The way that I got in there was as a JV boys assistant. Coach Adrian Hurtado, who just actually retired because he got an AP position over at El Cap, allowed me to coach with the JV boys. And from there, I took over the varsity girls program the next year. And that was at 22 years old, I think I was. Again, didn't really know much, but was willing to learn a lot. Had a lot of success early on. Took over a program there that I believe averaged like 5 to 6 wins a year. And that's out of like 28 contacts. So it wasn't amazing. And in year one, we went 15. I think it was like 15 and 15. And then year two, we had our first 20-win season, made the playoffs, and was 3 points away from winning a CCC championship in year two. Then year three comes, similar success, and then that's when I head over to Clovis West. Clovis West was probably the best opportunity that I could have ever had. Coach Craig Campbell is, I think, one of the best coaches in the nation. Just learning with him on film sessions and team meetings and practices and workouts, it was just eye-opening because in Merced, it's a very small knit community and there's not a lot of growth in this area because everybody just knows what they know. But in Fresno, the resources are unlimited and the coaching is just stellar. And so I learned a ton from Coach Campbell. I give him all the credit. In my 2 years there, we went undefeated in league. We went to 3 different states and played in big time tournaments, like Nike championship level tournaments. And then we played in the open division for state, which was insane. We're going to Archbishop Midi in San Jose playing. We're going to Centennial down in LA. And we're playing girls that are going to UCLA and Cal. And I'm like, this is eye-opening. And just the level of preparation from there was really cool to see. And then I got an opportunity to come back home to Merced and take over a program that was on the bad side of history in California. I think they had a record, I think it was 96 straight losses in a row that Stone Ridge Christian had maybe 1 or 2 years before I got here. And then I took the job and we just hit the ground running. 3 years, we have 20 wins each year. We've made the playoffs each year and we've made progress every single year. One, section semifinals. Year two, we won our section. And then we got to the state semifinals. Year three, which we just finished up, we also now we won our league. We're in the Southern League, so we went undefeated in there. Then we went to the section. We won our section, and then we got to the state semifinals again, and we lost to a really good St. Bernard's team in the state semifinals, who actually ended up winning the whole thing, which was pretty cool. Really good team. So now I guess where we're at is we're headed to D5 since we won back-to-back Division 6 titles. And we are also in our last year of being in the Southern League. Our league is trying to get us to go independent because we've had a good amount of success this last year, winning games by an average of 40 points or so. So I think it's best for them, it's best for us to improve our strength of schedule. But yeah, so now we're going into year four. A lot of returning kids and just trying to win this D5 championship now.
There you go. What a run. Let's go back to your first opportunity at El Cap at 22. I'm moving from an assistant to a varsity head coach for the first time. Big
Yes.
jump. And you've led a little bit before, right at the middle school level and the JV level. And now you're in the big kid seat. What did you realize right away that you still needed to figure out?
Everything. It's different. When you're a player, you think you know a lot. When then you become a coach and it's more than just on the court stuff, right? You're managing team meetings, you're setting up fundraisers, you're collecting jerseys. And then on the court stuff, it's a lot of skill development. It's empowering your players, it's teaching, it's leading, finding really good assistant coaches to help you run your program. It was a big jump, but I had a lot of good support. I mentioned Adrian Hurtado at El Cap, and his right-hand man is Joe Serena, who was an amazing mentor for me. His daughter actually played for me her senior year and was like our team leader and point guard and stuff like that. So I think it's really just surrounding yourself with good support and just making sure that you don't know everything. And it's okay to not know everything and to just be a sponge.
So sliding over to Clovis West after that and doing some apprentice work under Coach Campbell, what were the things that jumped off the page? If you had to list, like, look, these are the three things that ultimately he's doing that nobody else is, that after that apprenticeship, it really helped me turn the corner.
Yeah, the two things that come to my mind right away is his attention to detail, the smallest things, footwork, taking the right angles on defense. I think those, he really drilled those every single day. And you watch a Clovis West game and you're like, wow, these girls are flying around, they're making plays, they're doing all these things. And it starts in practice. Like it really starts in the off season. Like these kids are working every single day. He's also working all the way down to the second grade level. So now you got these kids from second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, all working together for a number of years before they get to high school. They're running the same stuff. They're being coached by either varsity staff or former players that have been in the system. So I feel like it's definitely that. And it's also the commitment level. Like I said, when you're going all the way down to second, third grade, like you have to have a lot of gym time. You have to have committed coaches. I don't know how Craig does it. He literally lives in the gym. And it's one of those things where you are not surprised at all the success that he's had just because you see the work that he's doing behind the scenes. Like it's incredible.
They also have the benefit of having a K through 12 arrangement in Clovis, which is different than everywhere else in the state. How do you take from and borrow that model when you obviously don't get to do that unless Stone Ridge is a K through 12? Like, I have no idea.
Stonebridge is a K through, it's a preschool through 12. The difference is we have sixth, seventh, and eighth is our middle school. So we do have a middle school program. And I'm gonna be quite honest, it hasn't been great. And it's just because when I first got this job, I had to do a lot of work at the top. I'm just now going into year four, really starting to dive deep into our middle school program and try to create that pipeline. But my angle since I've gotten here was keep the gym open, invite the top sixth, seventh, and eighth graders in the area to come and get work with our high school kids in the off season, build the relationships, and if they want to come here for high school, let's make it happen.
Got it. Now, once you got to Stone Ridge, what were the things that you felt were going to easily transfer and didn't? And what are the things that maybe you felt were going to be more of a challenge that weren't?
Taking over the program, I saw that there was a couple players. I did my homework. I looked at some film from the previous years and saw that there were some players that could potentially help. I also knew potentially of a couple players that were already going to be interested in making the move to Stone Ridge. So with all that, I guess my thought process was we're in Division 6. For us to be able to compete right away, we got to have talent, obviously. But I think it was just keeping it simple at first, establishing something. And then when we got to the semifinals, it was one of those things where it's okay, this is what we're missing now to make that championship run the next year. And for us that year was just a little bit more dedication to the defensive side. But things that I felt like translated was a lot of the traps that we did at Clovis West, a lot of the defensive things that we did. So I implemented a lot of that stuff. Offensively, I stayed away because I wanted to simplify everything. And Clovis West offense is pretty high powered and it takes a little while to get that going. So now again going into year 4, I feel like we're at a spot where we're maximizing our offense, we're maximizing our defense, and now we're starting to teach like the next level of things. We got some familiarity, and it's just about expanding it now.
And what does that mean? If you get into the weeds on that, right?
Yeah,
A little
yes.
bit of generalism there in regards to people that may be listening that want some nuggets to take away. Drill down on specific things that you noticed that you've now shifted that you're looking forward to changing as you go forward next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll give you an example like defense. We've been working on how to guard ball screens for ever since I've been here. Like now we're blitzing. Like now we're able to blitz. Now we're able to hedge hard and recover. Now we're able to play drop coverage. I have a 6'7" junior. He's going to be a junior that defends the rim, right? So I like to mix up our coverages, but you can't just come into a new program with a lot of kids that have either never played high level basketball or never been a part of an actual program. You can't just come in and say, hey, we're doing all of this stuff. So it takes time. Like you got to establish the basics, the shell defense, things like that. But like I said, now we're starting to expand out, right? Even on offense, it's very simple offense. I had guys that can make a lot of plays, but now it's starting to get into a point where we're making reads off of split action screens or different types of movements that we're taking from whether it's watching college programs practice and play. And I feel like these guys, now that they are in a program for more than 1, 2 years, I feel like they're able to take those things in and like now we're playing at a higher level because of it.
At a small school, I'm assuming, what's the enrollment there?
Enrollment for our high school is about 130 to 140.
And how many sports do you offer?
Quite a bit actually. We have boys and girls basketball, or boys football, baseball, softball, volleyball for both. I think the only things we really don't have is track and cross country.
Mhm.
But we pretty much have the majority of everything else.
And what percentage of your team are playing in the other 2 seasons?
A good amount. My first year, for example, our football, like this is a football school. It always has been. Stonebridge has been a football school. My first year, I had maybe one kid out of, I don't know, 12, 13 that didn't play football. During the summer, during the off season, it's tough. These
Love
guys are
it.
doing 2 a days, weight room, all that good stuff. And you don't want to burn them out, but you also need them to show up a little bit. But I've worked hand in hand with our head coach for football, Anthony Dieger. He's been awesome working with us. And now going into year 4, I have probably, I would say 60% of them play football, but they show up
Mhm.
like in the off season in the summer. So,
I'm more interested, and you've listened to a few of these. My soapbox is that the youth sports industrial complex is killing athletics because they're preaching this specialization pump fake.
yep.
And I think smaller schools are best positioned to speak on the value of a traditional high school experience where you're going from the football team to the basketball team to the baseball team. Can you talk a little bit about how at your different locations, because I'm imagining the Clovis West culture, like all those kids do is hoop.
Yeah.
And at El Cap and at Buhatch when you were in school and the other places, you're probably sharing athletes. But can you talk a little bit about what you've noticed in those that are continuing to compete across different disciplines versus those that aren't, and how that has enhanced or not your ability to compete for titles?
Yeah, I think the main thing is you completely avoid burnout with one sport. It obviously you think, oh, if you're doing basketball all year round, you're going to be at the top of your game. But I think a change of scenery sometimes is really good. Hearing a different voice is good. Competing in different sports is good because you're doing different movements, right? You're working on different body positioning. You're making different cuts. I think what's really good about our guys playing football is it builds a level of toughness and physicality that matches in the weight room, obviously. And I just feel like they come in with a better mindset. Our football coach does an amazing job also on instilling integrity and just hard work. So when those guys get done from football, it's hard. Football's hard. And when you have that season and it comes to an end, for me to just jump right into basketball like that, it's tough. So we take some time, we rest up, you know what I'm saying? But I think to answer your question, what I see with the multiple sport athletes rather than the just playing one sport, I think it doesn't allow you to burn out. I think that's my main point. And it just gives you just, a different level of fun, just playing football with your guys, playing baseball with your guys. So it's been great for us. Obviously, we have to do it because we're a smaller school, but I love it. Our guys are committed year round regardless. If they're playing other sport, I definitely recommend playing multiple sports for sure.
How do you work with your athletes and your parents to hammer that message home? And in regards, you just said something at the very end, our kids are committed year round regardless,
Mhm.
which, all right, cool. What does that really look like? How are you as a 22-year-old years ago being a knucklehead about the line in the sand versus now you're like, yeah, man, cool. You had a long day. I'll see you later. Those are
Yeah.
the things. I talked to one of my kids yesterday who is, we're in the summer now officially, and she's
Mhm.
going to like her high school water polo practice in the morning. Then she
Mhm.
goes to her club practice in the afternoon. Then she comes to basketball. And I was like, hey, look, if you got a lot, these are like 8-hour days. Like
Yeah.
when you need a breather, don't feel guilty saying, Coach, I need some time off.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about how you navigate that.
Yeah, I just had a parent, I think it was last week, that came to me. This is an incoming freshman and new to our program. That his mom came to me and said, "Hey, my son's in travel baseball. He's going to be starting football with the high school, and I also want him to make weight room and basketball with you." She's like, sometimes like these could be 8 to 9 hour days. And she was like, "What are the things that I absolutely should try to get him to?" And what I explained to her was, look, these are the things that I would say are most important for him, but I would just like him to show up whenever he can. I get travel baseball as an animal, it's a whole animal in itself. Also, football is the next sport at our high school, so they should be taking that first as a priority. So whenever he can make it, and he's made it, I would say 1 to 2 times a week for us to like a 12:30 to 2 type window where we're doing skill work, shooting. But what's cool about our schedule is like our basketball program is going 12:30 to 2. Then we have weight room for football. It's basically all male sports from 2 to 3:30. And then after that, you got football that's going 3:30 to, I don't know, 5 or whatever they go to.
Oh man, they're going till 8 p.m.
Yeah, honestly, again, with the burnout, like it's hot. I don't know if Merced very well, but it gets hot out
Yeah,
here.
I purposefully don't go there. I live on the coast.
Yeah, no, it gets hot. We're looking at 90 to 100 throughout the summer. So,
On the low end.
on the low end. I think with the multiple sports and managing it, like even for basketball, like our season is longer than most because we're in a lower division. So we have the postseason section in state. So we go November through March. So for us to just be like, no, you need to make every single thing, it would be dumb. You got to give these kids a break.
I also am curious in regards to when that kid comes to you and he's, hey, coach, I think I'm going to stop playing baseball so I can focus on basketball. What's your conversation around that? And I'm asking for two reasons. One, as a basketball coach, I coach the boys forever. I'm coaching the girls now. We have those conversations. I had one yesterday. It's, hey, coach, I don't want to play field hockey in the fall. Can I do X, Y, and Z? And it's, nah, maybe, no, I don't love it. Let's talk about it. And as the AD, it's I need them to play everything. So I got to juggle these different hats. But what's your take on that? Because mine is always for what? Are you the 3% that's going to be a college athlete? Because if not, like, what are we doing? Just be a high school kid.
Yeah, I think just the experience of playing multiple sports. Like I was one of the kids in high school where I only played basketball because I loved it so much. And I was skilled at baseball. I was skilled at football. I was skilled at these other things. And my mind was just so focused on not getting hurt for basketball season that I completely avoided any other sport in high school. And I regret it. Like, I wish I did play because a lot of my friends play, like, my whole friend group in high school was football players. And here I am, the only guy that maybe I'm going to the University of Louisville or something. That's what I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking, okay, I'm not getting hurt in football. I'm a smaller kid already, but it's completely, I was uninformed for sure. And looking back, I would have played all of them. I still would have obviously taken basketball the most serious, but I would have ventured out and played those multiple sports. But when kids come to me and they say, I don't know if I want to play this, I don't want to play that, it really is a question on why. What is your reasoning? And if it's, oh, I feel like my grades are taking a hit because I'm gone all the time, blah, blah, blah. Okay, those are some things that maybe we can figure out. But sometimes kids do grow out of sports too. It does happen. And you start getting really good at one sport towards your junior and senior year. And I still try to push playing 2 to 3 sports. It makes the high school experience just that much better.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, every situation is different. I love the fact that we can still be old school and allow that with our kids because we're small relative to the school down the street where if you don't specialize, you can't make their team. And it's like,
Right.
whatever, do your thing, but this is your one chance to be a kid. And
Yeah.
it's not like you're playing football after you graduate high school because there's not adult leagues. And some of these
Yeah.
other sports you can, like baseball. Like how many adult baseball leagues are there, right? You can always do that. But the other
Right.
things, it's your one chance. So like how do these kids embrace that? All right, what do you think's the best thing you do in your program that were you to leave, you would take it with you?
Mm.
And I don't want to hear about culture because that's a buzzword that's pretty meaningless and empty
Yeah.
unless you have specifics. But I think
Yeah.
if you look at your time at Clovis, you look at your time at these other places, what's come with you? What have you developed your own? What would you offer the audience as, yo, this is transformational in developing your culture?
Yeah. For me, we fall back 100% on relationships. And when I say relationships, it's more so of pouring into the kids and connecting with them on a different level. And when you do that, you get the most out of them. Like when they fully trust you, when they fully feel like you are on their side and you want their best interest, it's different. And I think it starts, our word at Stone Ridge is alignment. And it starts with the coaches, to the players, to the parents, to the administration at the school. When you are all aligned and on the same page, because you have the outliers that it's this kid's coming here, he thinks he's going to score 40 points a game. He could care less about defense. He doesn't want to win. Those type of kids they just filter out like on their own. And when you have alignment, when you have everybody bought into the same goals, and when you're not yelling and screaming at kids all the time as coaches during practice, during games, not pulling them out for one mistake, when they feel like you're allowing them to play through and you're pouring confidence into them, I feel like that's when you get the most out of them. And that's when it just makes it that much more fun as coaches because basketball season is a long season. And if you guys aren't gelling, if you don't have everybody on the same page, it could be longer than the November through March feels like November through November, right? It's taking forever to get through the season. So I guess my things would be building the relationships with the kids, pouring confidence into them, and just the word alignment. We went to Dallas, Texas, not this past year, but the year before. We went to Tyler Junior College. It's where Jimmy Butler played. And we met, I think it was Coach Kevin out there. He was the assistant coach, and he took us on a tour and then brought us in the classroom. And we had I would say, an hour and a half talk with our program and him just about the word alignment and what that meant. And that completely changed our program. Like we took a lot of notes from there. He gave us some leadership packets that he had, and now we instill it. And for me, again, I'm a sponge. I don't think I know everything. So I'm going to take things from different programs that work, that make sense, and just try to keep implementing it into whatever I'm doing.
Okay, so break down that idea of alignment that you got from the coach at Tyler Community College. What does that look like in steps?
Yeah, so it just comes down to the parents, the players, the coaches, the administration. When everybody is transparent about what we want for these kids, what we want for this program, what we want from this school, You really just map it out before the season starts. You say, hey, this is what our goals are this year. This is what we want to hit as a team. These are the players that we feel like have a chance to go play college basketball. What are we doing to help these kids get to that point? These are the things that we need to fundraise for. We travel. We went to Florida last year for a tournament, went to Dallas the year before. In order for these things to happen, everybody has to be on the same page. We have to be bought into something bigger than all of us. I have plenty of notes on what he talked about, but the main points were if you get everybody aligned and everybody's bought into the same thing, whatever that is, you're going to go far. And I feel like our team chemistry has completely skyrocketed since that.
Interesting. Okay, question of the month. How do you navigate situations with players that may not be ready, mature enough to self-advocate when they may want a larger role than they currently have, but they seem happy-go-lucky, like everything's fine. So as the coach, you don't really realize, like, how have you found some growth and success from previous failures in that? That's been our biggest deal this year. The handful of unrest that we've had are when there's a kid on the team, and in basketball, you're usually looking at that 8-9 spot where you never know if you're playing or not. In baseball, that kind of 10-11 spot where maybe you're in the rotation, you're out of the rotation. But how have you found success in communication, or failures in not, of navigating those situations, which can really undermine what you're doing, both for you, your team, but more importantly, for that kid's state of mind moving forward and feeling connected or not?
Yeah, the big thing was again from Coach Craig Campbell. He literally would take each kid with the coaching staff individually, have meetings with them, and let them know exactly where they were at. I think if you have consistent meetings, one-on-one meetings with players, and you say, hey, this is where I feel like you're at. This is where I feel like you can improve. When you have those and you have those conversations, everything's out there. It's transparency, right? So when you're having those, you tell them, hey, right now I see you as a 6'7" guy, like 6'7" off the bench, right? From either 1-2 off the bench. Maybe you're in the 8 spot right now, but you can work your way up to 5. And I think when you break it down that way, it also makes your practices that much more competitive. If I know that so and so is our starting point guard right now, and I'm probably looking at a backup role as a point guard, I'm going to go at that guy every single day. And I think it breeds the competition, but also it's team over myself. And when you preach that and the culture's high in practice, you're the guy that's going to be sticking out if you're pouting or have a bad attitude or whatnot. But when we see those things, we also have meetings for those. And I think it's just communication. I think that's what it comes down to. One-on-one meetings are huge. I think you have to do one before the season starts just to set the tone. This is where we're at. And, what is that player's goals? Is that player's goal to be in a starting lineup? Is that player's goal to just have basketball as just a fun experience and they just want to be part of a team? And I think you get the idea from when you have those conversations and you see where each player is at. But I think it just comes down to the communication, the meetings, the one-on-ones.
So you have one at the beginning of the season, and then how often are you doing this?
As much as needed. If I see that a kid may be going through some stuff at home potentially, or I see that they're maybe a little bit off at practice, if I see that I watch film and I see one guy getting up a little bit slow when someone gets subbed out and we're high-fiving on the bench, we see those things and we try to figure out, okay, what's going on? We have a kid right now, he broke his ankle last year. He's an incoming kid, incoming freshman, and you could just tell like he's real timid, and he was a very outspoken kid like last year, good leader, all this good stuff, and you could just tell he's in his shell now. So for me, I see that, I'm like, okay, we need to talk. So me, a couple coaches, I think it was like 2 days ago, just have a conversation with him, and he opens up a little bit. He tells us how he's feeling, and from there you can just tell now he feels like we care, for one, because we do care, and then now also he's aware that we know what's going on. So now he's willing to change and adapt and adjust. So it's Sometimes it's uncomfortable conversations, but for the most part, it's just conversations in general, just having those one-on-ones.
And I would imagine at the other spots, you were an off-campus coach versus now you're working in admissions and doing some other things. What advice do you have for navigating those conversations when you're not available all the time? So Campbell is the director of basketball. I don't think he teaches, maybe a PE class here or there, but like the rest of the world has other things. So how are you finding the time? How are you scheduling that? What advice do you have regarding that situation?
Yeah, it's tough. I think our biggest, I guess the way we do it is we have really good assistant coaches. We have four or five that can easily have those conversations if one of us can't make it. But even sometimes, like in summer, for example, cut out maybe I don't know, 10 minutes of practice and just touch base, just connect. That's probably the best way to do it. You don't always have to practice for a full hour and a half. You don't always have to practice for a full 2 hours. Sometimes having those talks is like more beneficial than getting on the shooting machine for 20 minutes. So I think you just prioritize it. I think you have to in order for the relationships to grow. And again, that's where for Stone Ridge, for us, it's all about the relationships. And if again, if your player feels like you actually care about them outside of basketball, I think they're more willing to compete at a high level for you.
Yeah, fair. As a self-described guy that studies, what have you learned watching other disciplines that you've been able to import into your basketball coaching experience?
Yeah, one place I actually was able to go, and this was with Coach Hurtado. They did like a coaching retreat type deal, and we went out. This was before they were on Netflix over at East Los Angeles. I think it's East LA JC or whatever it is. Mosley, the coach over there. We actually got into those practices and we watched like two or three. I think we went to Fullerton and a couple other colleges as well. It's just really seeing like how different coaches interact with their players. What are they implementing? I like to constantly adapt our offense, our defense. Almost every year I'm reevaluating, and it's only because I'm not married to one system. I feel like when you're married to one system, you're forcing players to become system players. And that may win you some games, but if our goal is to try to help some of these kids get to college, they have to be prepared for that. And I feel like where we do a good job is we adapt to our personnel, right? I have a 6'7" kid that can absolutely dominate the paint. There's no sense in us running like a dribble drive offense where he's only going to get the ball when he goes opposite for putbacks and rebounds, right? So it's just it's trying to utilize the players that we have each year and just trying to adjust and adapt. But I've taken things from several programs. I can't even count on my hand how many different programs that I've taken little its and bits and pieces of things, whether it's offense, defense, culture,
What about non-basketball
non-basketball. I think things that
games?
I've
Yeah, like you're out there watching football, you're on the sideline because I'm sure your kids are
oh
playing.
yeah.
What are some things you've imported?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For my program specifically, I love how our football program their unity. Like they pray before practices, they pray before games. Obviously, we're a Christian school and we want to implement that. So that's something that I wasn't used to because I was at public schools. Just little things like that, team bonding stuff. Our football team also just went to Hume Lake and did I think it was like a 2 to 3 day team camp. So now that's something that I'm looking at because all my guys are coming back. Hey, coach, this was fun. We should do it for basketball. Perfect. I'm not going to be like, oh, no, that's a football thing, right? No, like we can do some fun stuff like that too. So yeah, just different ways of communication. But I watch football in the NFL and college, and I just see how those coaches, because they're more hard nosed usually, right? Football, you're supposed to be a little bit more hard nosed, but just trying to balance that and learning from the really high energy type coaches, but then also learning from I don't have to be the yeller, the screamer. I can also just have simple conversations with my players. So it's also really cool to just see the difference in coaching and just see what makes the most sense for my personality. Yeah.
Always. It's always important. Be authentic, right? Let's talk about failure. What's something that you can point to in your career that was a transformational moment that has allowed you to find success based on that fumble, so to speak?
Yeah, I have one big one. I didn't leave El Capitan. I was actually let go from El Capitan. And I like to be real
Well,
transparent.
what's the cliche, right?
Yeah.
It's either coming or it's already happened.
And I wanted to be there until, because I have a daughter that's now going to be 9. So my plan was like, oh, this is my first job. I want to stay here forever. I want my daughter to play here, blah, blah, blah. And it was during COVID. We had with the mask mandates and stuff like that. And they were telling us, hey, you guys got to practice with your masks on the whole time. We had a few of our players that I allowed to bring it down a little bit. And it was only because those kids were struggling and they couldn't breathe and they were inhaling this stuff from the mask. It was an unfortunate situation, and it sucks that it happened. Administration saw, and it happened from there. But I thought I was done coaching. Like I literally was like, I am done. There's no coming back from this. And then it was the relationship that I had with Craig Campbell before. While I was at LCAP, we would go to all their tournaments. I would literally go and attend practices because I knew that they were the best program by far, like in our area, so to speak. And so I literally would watch their film. I would go to practices. I would go to their tournaments. And I think he like realized that. And so when I got let go, he was asking me, "Hey, you want to come to this tournament?" He didn't know yet. And I was like, "Sorry, coach, I'm no longer here." And he was like, "What? What happened?" And I told him, and he was like, "I have a spot for you. You let me know if you want to make it happen or not." And at the time, I'm still living in Merced. Fresno, Clovis is about a good 50-minute drive. And I talked to my wife and said, I really love coaching. And if you can give me these 2 years or however long it's going to take to make this happen, this could really help me in the long run. And I did it. I drove every day for 2 years. Every practice, I think I missed maybe one, maybe two practices in the 2 years that I was there. And I went to all the games, all the tournaments. I even coached their 8th grade feeder team one year. And so, Craig saw that I was committed. He wanted coaches that were committed and wanted to buy in. And he wanted me to move out there and do the whole thing and stay with them forever. And I wish I could have. I'm from Merced. I have a
You,
lot of
you,
people
you
here.
couldn't leave Merced for the big
Yeah.
Fresno city.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so I get an opportunity to come back, right? And it was hard going there for 2 years every day. My wife was like, "You're never home," this and that. And now it's just that opened the door for Stone Ridge. But I owe Craig my life, man. He really gave me the opportunity that I needed. And especially when I thought I was done, I thought it was the worst possible thing that ever could have happened. I thought I was never going to recover from it. And he got me in and changed my life because of it. So,
Sometimes our best decisions are made by other people, man.
absolutely.
All right, let's wrap up here. What's something you've most recently changed your mind on? And this is just about growth mindset and challenging our beliefs and finding our blind spots and making intentional decisions that, you know what, I'm not on this path anymore. And here's why. Here's how I've challenged it. And now I'm over here. And it doesn't have to be basketball related. I'm just always curious how people are challenging their beliefs.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's just trying to be the best version of myself so that way I can help other people be the best versions of themselves, whether it's my kids, whether it's my wife, whether it's my basketball team, our school in general. I feel like if I'm selling myself short, I'm not giving them the best version of me. So how am I expecting them to be the best version of themselves out in the community or just in life in general? Because like you said, what was it? The 3% of kids that end up playing college basketball. So it's like, what about the other 97? So for me, it's just making and creating and helping mold great young men to go out in the community and be great men. For me, it's really taking a backseat on the whole basketball stuff and realizing that it all comes together either way. We have tried to do a lot of team bonding. We've tried to do a lot of outreach in the community, connecting, and little things like teaching these young men how to make eye contact in conversations, teaching them how to shake hands. It's a lost art. And
They shake the hell out of the digital hand, though.
yeah. And I feel like COVID really hurt a lot of kids socially, and you can still see that awkwardness in a lot of them. So for me, it's just trying to get them to understand and how to carry a conversation and how to build those relationships. Same as, I was telling you about with our program. I'm trying to teach these young men how to go out into the community after high school, build their own relationships because that relationship literally got me a job at Clovis West. It was nothing more than me getting an opportunity because of the relationship that I built. Just trying to get these kids to get out of their comfort zone and just get out there.
Yeah, no, that's a huge lesson. And I talk about that all the time. Part of the show was the title is based on the number of names in my phone, is that I got 4,500 people in the phone. And
Whew.
it's just a matter, to your point, of building a network and collecting relationships and
Yeah,
being able to grow my panel of mentors, so to speak, to help myself and others. So I think the more you can teach kids that early, the better off they're going to be in life.
100%. I agree.
Coach, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks. Looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing you. Keep following Stone Ridge and see how they do moving forward.
Appreciate you, Justin. Thanks for the opportunity, man.